guys, it's me, Miss Mary, out here getting it in. Are you guys gonna join me today? Or have you already walked? Let's get it in. 3 miles. I've been at it for a minute. I'm at 0.43 miles. But I was having some thoughts about what I wanted to talk to you guys about. And I thought, why don't I do 5 things about what I like about being a mother. And this is just off the cuff of my head. This is not anything rehearsed or I sat down and mapped it out. But just thoughts that ran through my head when I asked myself this, and then after I asked myself and I answered, then I'll give it to you guys. Number 1, I was raised with nurturing women. My aunt was nurturing. I think I didn't live with my mom until she was 12, so she wasn't very nurturing that I saw, but I'm talking about my younger years when I saw nurturing. My aunt was very nurturing, loving and caring, and most of my aunts on my mom's side were nurturing, so I grew up with seeing women operate in their nurturing feminine side. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. Even when I think about when I was a little girl, like playing when we lived in Birmingham, Alabama. And I remember we were poor, so we didn't have dolls, so we made our own dolls. And how I made a doll was, we would take a Coke bottle and we would take the hairs from the corn husk and stick that down in there, and that would be her hair. Of course, I don't know why we come up with that concept, because it sure didn't look like anybody we were around. But anyway, that would be her hair. And then we would make some clothes and make her a body, put a sock on it and make her a body. But I remember that, making a doll out of a Coke bottle. So I had to be 7 or 8, because like I told you, I don't have no early memories. I have little bits and pieces like this, what I'm telling you now. And so because I grew up around nurturing women that I saw nurture, and very operated in their feminine side too. So I have always embraced being a mother. I can't never think of a time when I was old enough to decide that I did not want to be a mother. And there's no shade to people who don't want to be. I respect you. I honor you for making a conscious decision to say, I don't want to be a mother. Then don't be one. We have choices in this world, right? So exercise your free will to choose whether you want to be or not want to be. Long before, So anyway, what do I like about it? I like taking care of children. I like that nurturing, taking care of people. I love taking care of my babies. I love giving them baths and dressing them up, keeping them clean, keeping them safe. I loved all of that part. Now, once I got divorced, even before I got divorced, we didn't have no money anyway, but I didn't have money and stuff, but I liked making do with what I had, trying to make them happy. Like I liked feeding them, and then once we have eaten and I didn't have money to go out to eat, we would go up to a place called Myers, and they had an ice cream parlor in there, and we would go have ice cream and just sit and watch people. Little things like that. I love that. I love rearing children. I like their curiosity. I like being able to pour into a child, being able to pour into something. So I like that part. And to be honest with you, I did not mind being pregnant. It did not bother me. Thank God. I was never sick. I was never down and sick with it. For the most part, not for the most part, but for the whole part. I had 5 pregnancies and I was healthy. I was able to move around. With my last one, I worked up until the time for me to have the baby, like 2 weeks prior to my due date. But anyway, I didn't have a problem with being pregnant. I didn't, the only thing towards the end, when you were like 8 months and you got tired of it and them kicking and moving in your stomach, the normal stuff. But for the most part, I didn't have a problem with that. I like knowing that you have an opportunity to make and mold something, to bring a little life into this world. And you can teach it to be good or you can teach it to be bad. Now, knowing also, too, that as they get older, they will make their own decisions. But when they was in your control, I like that. I liked watching them grow as they got older and their personalities, and who they became and why they became. And I liked seeing the different talents in them, I like that. Another thing I like, that's 3. The 4th thing that I liked is I loved it when they became very independent of me. Because my slogan is, I don't raise kids to raise adults. So I loved it when they became independent. Now, along with them becoming independent, there was a void in me that they didn't need me. And so we didn't talk as much, didn't communicate as much. Because, remember Miss Mary didn't go to college, but my kids did. And so there was a period of time where, maybe we talk once a month or something like that. Not all the kids, I'm just saying certain ones, because they're growing. They're developing. They're finding out who they are. And the one thing that I want to say is, you're not the only influence in your kid's life. So you have to always remember that. There's other people influencing them. So I liked watching them develop, mature, and come into their own. And the 5th thing that I liked about being a mother, and this is the stage that I'm in now, is, because now all of my kids are grown, so I like them being more of my confidant. We're more friends, and I use that word very lightly, but I'm still the mom. They know I'm the mom. They respect me as the mom. But there's a closeness because we have a lot to talk about now. Between marriage, them being married, between them having kids, between them losing jobs, between them buying homes, between them being investors, between them investing in things. And we just have a lot that we can talk about now. And it's not no more of that, do what I say and I'm in charge. And so I love this phase in our lives where actually I turn to them for advice. I turn to them and say, what do you think? Because I have that type of relationship with them, that I trust them and I know that they trust me, and we trust each other as adults. I'll never forget, one of my children said to me, and it touched my heart so, and I just felt like this is what it's all about, is when she said to me, I think it was like 5 years ago or so, no one could have never told me that at age, I think she was turning 40, 39, 38, whatever age she was. But she was an adult. No one could have never told me at this age that my mother would be my best friend. And that pierced my heart so. But we had to get to that. That didn't come overnight. You know what I mean? What I like about being a mom too is just let your kids be who they are. You know, I don't stifle my kids. If my child came and told me they want to move to South Africa, I'm going to say, okay, what's your timeline? When are you going? How are you going to get there? What's this? What's that? I'm not going to, no, don't do it. You don't need to go there. I'm not that type of a mom. I have 5 children, and I only have one that lives in this state. Now, let's be clear. I heard a girl say to me, oh my God, how could your daughter leave you? And I remember standing in the line one time at a credit union, and this young lady that we went to church with, and she asked me about my daughter. Oh, how's my oldest daughter? And I said, oh, she moved to, I think at that time she had moved to North Carolina. She goes, oh my God, how could she leave you? And she said it so loud in the credit union, in the line, and I felt like people were looking at me, and it really kind of hurt me. Oh my God. She said, oh, I could never leave my mom. I could never. And I felt so bad. And I think it was the way she said it, and that she left you. So anyway, when I got home, I called my daughter, and I told her, I said, yeah, I ran into so-and-so and so, and she told me that she could never leave her mother. And you know what my daughter said to me? Well, of course she can't. She has children. She's relying on her mother as a babysitter. Of course she can't. Her mother is her ATM. She's relying on her mother for money. Of course she can't. She's relying on her mother for shelter. So no, she won't never leave her mother. And then she said, and another thing, I didn't leave you. I left Michigan, but I never left you. So I was like, yeah, that's right. That is so right. She says, yeah, she could never leave because she was still attached, because she still needed her mother for things, financial, daycare, shelter. My daughter didn't need me for any of those things. She just needed me to be her mother. But I didn't need to be her ATM machine. I didn't need to be her babysitter. She has no children. She didn't need me for a roof over her head. She has a good job, and she provides her own roof over her head. So, those are some of the things that Miss Mary like about being a mother. I love watching them as all of them are grown in their 30s and 40s. And I just love seeing who they have become, you know. And another thing I like is, you know, I hear people all the time, oh, my child went to Harvard. Oh, my child went here, Princeton. Oh, my child did this and did this. And I'm not saying that those things are not nice. Those are excellent. But you know what I like to brag on? I like to brag on their character. Are you safe in the dark with my child? Can you walk down the street at 2 in the morning and know my son ain't gonna touch you, ain't gonna bother you? If you out somewhere and my daughter see you stranded with a baby, will she help you? You know, that they're caring people. I remember when we went to Africa and my daughter was paying for, you know, all these bowls and stuff. And I was like, oh no, you're giving them too much. She said, no, Mama, I want them to have it. I want them to have the money. So she was just like giving it to them. I watched that and I saw that. That made me feel proud. Those are the kind of things I'll stick my chest out, that she wanted them to have the money, that my other daughter didn't need me. Another thing was the youngest one time, the lady across the street where we lived at was a single mom. And it had snowed. I mean, we had so much snow. She wasn't even at home. She was gone. He cleaned up our yard. Then he went over and cleaned hers up. And I said, oh, Mike. Oh, I called his name. Oh, Michael, you did that. He said, yeah, Mom. But don't tell her, because I don't want her to know I did it. I was so proud of him for that, you know? And my son, Aaron, they're just caring people. They care about others. You know, they care about the world and the society, you know. Just, those are the kind of things. Those are the things that are coming to mind right now. You know, Aaron, and when I think about him is how he has so much empathy for people. He really does. And the thing about him that I love is he's so grateful. You can give him a pencil. He'd be like, oh man, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate that. You know, I needed this. Just a grateful heart. He always sees the glass half full and never half empty. Just the characteristics of being a good parent. I'm proud of my children as parents. You know, all of my children are good parents. My oldest son, my youngest son, and my other son, and my daughter. They're all great parents. They have taken up the torch and went beyond and above what I did. And I'm proud of that. So, anyway, this is Miss Mary just coming in for a landing, saying hi. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you are a mother, tell me what you like about being a mother. Maybe I'll do 5 things I didn't like about being a mother.